Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that covers all things marketing. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast gives you the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. Whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand, you've come to the right place. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and today's episode, guys, grab a drink, pull up a chair, and relax. We're going to take it a little bit easy with just a nice, simple Q&A. You guys have tons and tons of questions. You constantly reach out and ask for marketing tips, and I have compiled all of those questions, all of the most common questions into a list. And guys, we're just going to run through them today. Let's talk about this. At the start of every podcast, especially lately, I've really been trying to encourage you guys to connect with me more and to follow us on social media and review the podcast. And I want you to do all those things. But what I realized was I was asking you to connect with us, and then I wasn't connecting back. So many of you have written in with questions, and I think I could go through, and I have totally answered with you guys one-on-one. But what I would really love to do is just talk about them as one big group, because maybe as I'm giving an answer to a question, you know a completely different answer, or you have a different opinion on the answer I'm giving. So I would love to go through them as a family, as a community, and let's talk about these big marketing questions that everyone seems to have, because, man, I talk about this a lot on this podcast, but it's because it's something that I think is just so insanely true about our industry. It is lonely, especially recently, because companies have been cutting back on their marketing department. So maybe you were used to having like a team of 5, 6, or 7, and now maybe it's just you or you and another person. Or maybe you are running your own marketing because you are working on your own company, like you're a startup, you're a small business, it's your side hustle marketing, whatever it may be. If it's your job on your own, it can be very, very lonely in a field that expects you to be creative and emotional, and that can be very hard to do when you're alone. So I never want you guys to feel like you're truly, truly alone, because I am always here, and the community at the GSMC Marketing Podcast is always here. So that is what we're doing today. We're connecting as a community, and we're going to work through these questions together. If you listen to this podcast and you realize that, hey, I didn't answer all of your questions, because I'm sure I won't, then please ask again or ask for clarification on something I said, whatever you want to do, but do not be afraid to reach out. That is very simply what I'm here for. So again, write the review, make sure you are subscribed, and reach out through social media. We are very active on the GSMC Marketing Twitter. As well, I have a personal Twitter, which is Mac, M-A-C, Jaquish, Jaquish. You can also find me on Instagram at Mackenzie, M-A-C-K-E-N-Z-I-E, Jaquish, Jaquish. I also have a YouTube channel, and it's the same name for that. So go on there, find me, and we will connect through social media. But for now, let's jump right into today's podcast. We have 15 different questions that will surely, even if you weren't like having this question at the front of your mind, maybe it's never crossed your mind, hopefully it will help give you some clarity, or at least get you thinking about some marketing ideas that maybe you didn't think about before. So let's jump right in with question number 1. How often should I be posting on Instagram? This is a question that I get constantly. One, a lot from you guys, because we talk about Instagram a lot on this podcast. And I also have gotten it from a lot of companies that I've worked for when I've done their marketing. It is a big ticket question, because obviously social media marketing, it's like its own field completely on its own, and it can be very hard to wade through those weeds of how often should I be posting, what should I be posting, how important is it to my company, And the question that sticks out the most, there will be a few other Instagram questions that we'll touch on, but the question that sticks out the most really is, how often should I post? And the answer I always love to give, and I'm going to give it to you right now, is consistency over quantity. And that is just, it's the truth. You could post one time a week for the next 4 weeks, and you will see higher engagement than if you posted one time 4 photos every single day, but at random times of the day, the photos never matched each other. Then you stopped, then you started, then you stopped. No, pick your pattern and then stick to it. If you're posting 3 times a week, pick the days and the times you'll be posting and then stick to them. Number 2, how can I generate more leads? Guys, listen to all the podcast episodes. No, I'm kidding. How can you generate more leads? The simple answer is, and guys, I hate that it's this easy. More money into your ads will get you more leads. Better quality will get you more leads. Better quality content will get you more leads. More targeted advertising will get you more leads. A better product will get you more leads. It's very simple and very straightforward, but it's a lot like losing weight. The best way to lose weight is to not eat as much as you were before and to work out more. But that's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to just get more leads, but it does take work and it does take effort and it does take energy. So you just got to be willing to put all of that in. Number 3, can a website help with lead generation? 100% it can. A website can totally help you direct the flow of your lead generation. It can help raise your customer engagement, your return on investment. If you have a strong website, you will guarantee generate more leads. Number 4, how can you show off your features, products, and services that your company offers through your marketing? The short and simple answer that I absolutely love is content marketing. Take photos, make a video, write a blog, write a vlog, do a micro blog post on your Instagram, tweet about it, TikTok about it, make a GIF about it. Whatever you can do to show it off through the lens of a piece of content. That way people will want to interact with it and won't just see it as a commercial. Number 5, how is content marketing useful? Guys, I talk about content marketing on every single podcast episode. You could make it a drinking game. Every time I mention it, take a drink. But the reason that I talk about it so much is because it is so incredibly useful, to the point that you don't even understand what you were missing out on until you have it. And I think people get very scared at the idea of content marketing. They think it's this big, scary thing that they don't really know how to control. They don't know what to do with it. They don't have a professional photographer or a professional writer, and they just don't know what to do or where to go. But the truth is, every time you post on Instagram, every time you send out a tweet, you are using content marketing. So when I talk about making it useful or taking it to another level, that's just simply taking better photos, doing a video, doing a vlog, doing a live Q&A, doing a recorded Q&A, connecting with your audience through an engagement and content perspective. So that's really all we're talking about when we say content marketing. It is not a big scary thing, or at least it doesn't have to be. It won't be if you don't let it be. So we have 1,000,001 different podcasts. Actually, today's podcast is episode number 76, which is very exciting, but that means we have 75 different episodes, basically all about content marketing. I love talking about content marketing. It's our big sword. It's our main weapon against every other industry and against every other competitor. So if you're curious on how to film a better video, how to take better Instagram photos, how to write better captions, how to beat the Instagram algorithm, how to vlog, any of those things, I've talked about it in detail on other episodes. So I encourage you to go look at that. But don't just listen to my content. Guys, the world, especially right now, is filled with free content, and I strongly suggest you take advantage of it. And actually, I did a whole podcast where I talked about you taking advantage of it, because the world is trying to help you right now, and the best thing you can do is let them show you how to take better Instagram photos. Let them show you how to edit your videos better. The information is out there and it is free. So I recommend you go ahead, go out there and do some research for yourself. Question number 6, how can social media marketing help? And here's the thing, is that I get both of those questions almost in tandem. They'll ask the one and then they'll ask the other. There is no difference. There's a few more areas that you can expand to in each, and they differ in their own ways. But the truth is that it's all about engagement, and it's all about entertainment, and it's all about connecting with your audience. So how can social media marketing help? It can help you connect with your audience. It can help you show off your content marketing. It can help you show off your product. It can help you advertise and promote your products in a way that we were never able to before social media. And that's so incredibly rare and so incredibly interesting for our generation to get to experience it, that if you're currently in a position where you're not taking advantage of it, I would love to hear why not, because it is free, it is wonderfully easy to figure out, and it is incredibly helpful. So take advantage of it if you aren't already. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, we have the rest of our list of questions. So stay tuned for more of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll be right back.
Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on today's episode, we are having, I won't lie to you, we're having a good time. We're doing a little bit more of a relaxed, chill podcast. Normally, if you're new to the podcast, if you're new to the network, what we like to do on this podcast is push each other and come up with new marketing strategies and new marketing ideas and experiments, and we try things out and we push our limits. But I'll be honest with you, I'm moving. I talked about it on the last episode of the podcast, but I'm currently sitting in the middle of my living room, surrounded by boxes. The only things I have unpacked are my laptop and the microphone that I record this podcast on. We are in full moving mode, and right now, with everything that's going on in the world, I thought it would be a great opportunity for us just to sit down and answer your questions, because again, and I know I must sound like a broken record, but it's so incredibly important that this podcast is more of a community than anything else, because I understand you have your pick of podcasts, you know which ones you go to for entertainment, you know to listen to Crime Junkies when you're feeling in the mood to be scared a little bit, or you're interested in that, and you listen to Pretty Basic or Call Her Daddy when you're in like a gossipy mood or a fun mood, like a fun flirty mood. But I want you to come to this podcast, the GSMC Marketing Podcast, when you're in the mood to learn and you're in the mood to push yourself and your marketing. But the only way to do that is for me to know that I'm helping you, for me to know that you're actually benefiting from this. And the best way for me to do that is to connect with you. So at the start of every episode, I ask you guys to write in questions, and I respond to your questions one-on-one. But then I realized, one, I'm getting a lot of the same questions, and two, the best people to answer your questions are the people within this community. So we're running through all of the questions. We're going to talk about them. We're going to discuss them. But the big component of all of this, the big part, is that I want you guys to listen to my answers, because this is my opinions and my experiences. But you have your own experiences and you have your own answers, and I want to hear that as well. So let's start a conversation going. If I say something that you're like, oh, I actually experienced something totally different, or I have a different idea about that, or I experienced it this way, not that way, what I want you to do is tweet at me, write it in the reviews, reach out on Facebook, reach out on Instagram, because let's actually make this a community where people can talk to each other and learn from each other. That is what I want. I know that is what you want too. So let's all work together to make that a possibility. But for now, let's get right back into today's episode with more of your questions. So number 7, does email marketing work? So you'll notice before the break, we talked about content marketing and social media marketing and if those were useful. And the question that I end up hearing over and over again, first, before the social media marketing, actually, you know what? I think the best way to describe this is I always hear it instead of the social media marketing. So it feels like people who are doing the social media marketing don't want to do email marketing, and the email marketing people don't want to do social media. When in reality, guys, you need to find a balance for both. And the best way to predict your balance might be a 50-50 split, but it also might be 60-40 or 90 and 10%. It is going to be based off of what your product is and who your audience is. And I think the best example I have for this is that I once worked for a housing development, and we sold condos to young 20-year-olds, and then we were selling a retirement home. And the marketing that we used for the young 20-year-olds renting their first apartment was a lot more social media based, whereas the retirement home was a lot more email marketing based. And the reason for that is that those audiences are different and they connect with marketing differently. So that's the main question you have to ask yourself is, what will my audience respond to versus what type of marketing should I be using to connect with them? Question number 8, how can I measure customer experience and ensure that they are coming back? The best way to measure your customer experience is to run through the buy flow by yourself. It is so easy to do, but honestly, everyone doesn't do it. You need to go incognito onto your web browser and explore your own website and jot down notes of what worked and what didn't work, and what you liked and what you didn't like. That is the best way to ensure that you actually do have a good customer experience. Number 9. Are free courses useful? So lately I've been seeing a lot of ads for free courses that have been popping up for things like learn how to beat the Instagram algorithm or learn how to take better photos. And a part of me was very curious and was like, I'm not sure if this is actually useful. I'm not sure if this is actually going to help me. But once I took one, it completely changed my Instagram. It completely changed my YouTube videos. So I highly, highly recommend them. Some of them will be useful, some of them won't be. Roll those dice and find the one that works for you. Number 10, what can I do to turn more buyers into lifetime customers? Return on investment. Guys, it's the main question on everybody's mind. I know it is, and it is something that you obviously can't live without. You can't be putting in all this money for your customers and then they never come back. That's not going to work. That's not going to work for you, and it's not going to work for them. You want to build customer loyalty. And the best way to build customer loyalty is by running through that buy flow experience, creating content for them, and engaging with them. Number 11, what is the difference between digital marketing and social media marketing? Again, this is another very common question that I get because I feel like the line is thin, but the important thing to remember is that although the line is thin, the line is there. There is a difference between social media marketing and digital marketing. Also, please excuse the fact I live near a few hospitals and there are sirens going on in the background, but we're going to push through it. You guys understand it's the coronavirus pandemic. I'm recording this at home. Anyways, so the difference between digital marketing and social media marketing, truly is that digital marketing can live anywhere online, whereas social media marketing is tethered to their social media platform and is specific to the social media platform. Whereas digital marketing, it can be a video that you post on all of those. You're not creating it specifically for social media, but it can still go on social media. Whereas the content you're creating for social media can't be used anywhere, if that makes sense. There's a thin line, and it sometimes is blurred because they're both online, they're both digital, but there is a difference. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take another break from the podcast, but when we return, we are going to finish out our list. So stay tuned for more of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on today's episode of the podcast, we are going through a Q&A. I got together all of those questions you guys have been asking me, and I decided it would be really fun for us just to talk about them together, because there's not a ton of stuff going on right now during the coronavirus, which is why I would love to recommend to all of you, you've heard me mention it before, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it again, is the GSMC Podcast Network. Guys, we have podcasts on everything and more. You want beauty, wrestling, sports, books, entertainment, music, TV, and movies. We have it, and we have it all there on the internet for you for free. We talked about consistency earlier on this episode and how important it is. And the reason I believe it's so important is because that is something that I truly did develop working for the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice here, guys. But because every week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I post an episode, and every other host on the network is similarly so committed to posting on their days and ensuring that they are giving you the best content possible. So if you haven't already, go check us out over there and let me know, come back, let me know which podcast you enjoyed. For now, though, let's get back into our Q&A episode. Question number 12. What social media platform should I focus on? So here's the thing. There are about 1 million different social media platforms, and you all have probably 1 million different products. I mean, I would love to live in a world where I just pretend you guys all make coffee and soap, you know, those things that I always use as examples. But the truth is, every listener on this podcast is selling a different product. You might have a similar product or might be in a similar industry as another listener, but the truth is that they're all different and they're all unique and they all have a different way of being sold. So what social media platform should you focus on? You should focus on the social media platform that works best for your product. Because if you are selling, like I said earlier, retirement homes, you are not going to use the same social media platform as the person that is selling cameras and microphones or reusable straws or laptops. All of those products will need to rely on a different form of marketing and overall a different form on social media. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use all of the social media platforms, because I definitely think you should if they relate to your product. I always like to say use the big three: Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, because then you can manage ads, and it's very easy to just focus on one of those and have the other two hanging on in the background. So definitely sign up for the big three and any other additional ones you think might support your overall marketing strategy. But put your focus, put your energy, and put your effort on your big one that you know your audience interacts with the most. Number 13. Guys, I get this question almost every single day. Every single day I have someone asking it through marketing, through this podcast, through work. Everyone wants to know, is it time for me to get TikTok? And here's the thing. There was a time before Instagram blew up that companies didn't need Instagram, and they said, no, we're good. We don't need it. It doesn't fit our brand. And for a lot of companies, that might still be true, but they have Instagram because it supports ads and it supports engagement. So right now, while I'm recording this podcast on June 18th, 2020, it is not a necessity to your marketing that you have TikTok. However, if you are creating content that fits in well with the TikTok audience and on that format already, then I would ask you, why not use it? If you already have the content generated, if you already know you sort of would have an audience over there, then why not simply just post it on there and see how it goes? See if it works for you. Do a test run. But if you know it is going to take you X amount of hours, X amount of dollars, X amount of energy to put up one thing on TikTok, and you know that your audience isn't there, then why would you do it? For you, that doesn't make sense. And so do not use TikTok if you know that it's not going to reap the benefits for you, because it's not at a place yet where it can simply support your marketing strategy in the same way Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook can. Question number 14. How can I create content for every platform without compromising with the quality of the content? So this is an interesting question because it is very closely related to what I was just talking about with TikTok, where if you already have the content created and you are already focusing on creating it for a specific platform, and that platform is very targeted towards your demographic, then it's easy for you to post on TikTok and all your other platforms if it's not dragging away from it. And the same is true here. Yes, you need to have various different channels of marketing. You can't just solely rely on one anymore. But you do need to it's not an even split between all of them. One will always get a little bit more of your attention. And the truth is that it's always going to change which one is getting your attention. For a while, email marketing might be getting your leads, and then Facebook, and then videos, and then blogs, and then back to the email marketing. It can change so rapidly and so consistently that you need to be able to monitor it at all times so that you know how to shift your focus. Do not spread yourself thin by trying to manage all of these platforms, because I'm telling you right now, that will not work. However, what you can do is take a look at all the platforms you have available to you. So let's say you have 30 different platforms available to you. You can then narrow it down to the 10 that you know your audience will work with. And then the 5 that you know you already have the energy, the time, and the resources to be able to handle. And then out of those 5, you're going to do all of them, but there will be 1 or 2 that stick out that you know you have to put more time and energy into to create better content. And guys, the very simple answer to this question actually is to reuse the content. If you have a blog that you wrote back in December that did very well and you know you just can't simply repost the blog, then put it on an Instagram post, break it out into a bunch of tweets, read it on a video, put it into an infographic. I did an entire episode on reusing your content because I know you put a ton of time and energy and effort into that content, so I don't want to see it go to waste. Reduce, reuse, and recycle your content. Your audience loves it. It is easy enough to do, and I promise it will help in the long run. Finally, question number 15. What marketing plans could harm my business? You guys, this is another very frequent one. I left it till the very end to do it because there are a lot of things that could harm your marketing business. And the truth is that without me looking at your marketing plan, I really can't tell you. So the best thing to do is to take that shot, but take an educated shot. Know what your audience wants and what your audience is looking for. Invest your time and your money into the things that you know will be successful or the things that excite you. Don't just take random shots in the dark. We have the information. We have the data available so that you can make educated guesses. Okay, everyone, that is it for tonight's episode of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the GSMC Marketing News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to any podcast app and you'll find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, you'll find it all on the GSMC Podcast Network. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.